Good morning. It is the 21st day of November, the year 2022. Welcome. This is Kirk in the morning, and I hope that you're enjoying your morning and you're also having a great morning. Also had a wonderful weekend. Welcome. My name is Aida Munzatsi. We are ready to inform you on what exactly has happened. That is as far as the weekend is concerned, as well as throughout the week. We have the newspaper updates right there for you. We'll also be informing you on the newspaper updates. Then later on, we'll just be looking at improving mental health for the elderly with the help of Dr. Eunice Menja, who is right in studio. But first of all, let us look at the newspaper review. Well, we start with the Standard newspaper right here, and the headline, or just the top story that the Standard has given a priority is Raila Odinga's words, that is on Sunday or yesterday, Ruto a puppet of Western forces. That is according to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Leader coalition, that is Raila Odinga. And just to quote Raila Odinga, he says, opposition leader says foreign powers are pushing the president to import GMO foods regardless of the health risks involved. He said while other countries are banning the foods, the government is exposing Kenyans to harm. You can get the story on page 6 of the Standard newspaper, and definitely we will be playing a bite that is later on, just to hear on what Raila Odinga said about the same. On the top page of the Standard newspaper, we are just looking at the football bonanza. I think that is an advert right there for the Standard newspaper. But going to the second page of the Standard newspaper, definitely we are just looking at the stories that have been given a priority. We have Ruto must stop GMO imports. That's a story from the ODM leader Raila Odinga. We have soda ash farm at risk of land. That's a story on the 22nd page of the Standard newspaper right there. So looking at the third page of the Standard newspaper, teachers killed in road accident in Wundanyi were from funeral. So you can read an in-depth of that story on page 3. Then on page 4, we have irony of a hustler fund as state executes budget cuts for supplies. So they're just talking of the dilemma or probably the irony right there as far as the Hustler Fund that is set to actually be launched this particular month is concerned. That story is on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. We shift gears right away to the Daily Nation. And they are talking of a storm of GMOs. I think that's a story that was still on the Standard newspaper. So Azimio leader Raila Odinga once planned to import GM maize, halted or even as he challenges the government to make available scientific studies it relied on to lift ban on genetically modified organisms, and asks legislators to lead debate on the grave matter. That is a story on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation. Still on the top page, we have right there, that is a trade for CS Moses Kuria's bite right there as far as the economy and the GMO is concerned. He says, and I quote, being in this country, you are a candidate for death, and because there are many things competing to kill you in this country, there is nothing wrong with adding GMOs to that list. I think that's one of the stories, or just one of the statements from the trade CS Moses Kuria that really got people talking. That is on social media. Some were actually condemning the CS trade, that is Moses Kuria. And you can definitely get an in-depth of that story on the Daily Nation. We are now gone to the second page of the Daily Nation. That is a story that we looked at. That's from the Standard newspaper. Raila urges House to oppose GMOs, says Kenya's health and environment is at risk. That's a story on the second page. And on the third page of the Daily Nation, MPs from maize growing regions oppose imports. They actually want the government to first of all buy the maize that they have before thinking of importing. And I think this is a story that will actually be talked about throughout the week. That is a story, or the story to do with GMOs, and you can still share your comments about the importation of GMO goods. That is via our social media handles. That's Facebook, Kirk TV Kenya, YouTube, Kirk TV Kenya as well. On Twitter is KirkTV_Kenya. You can as well send in an SMS via our SMS number. That is 0111 220044. And now looking at the fifth page of the Daily Nation, it has to do with Iyala MP's political dumping ground. They are just looking at because a number of MPs that were actually chosen to go and represent Kenya in Iyala are those MPs that were not able to clinch seats. That is during the general election. We are looking MPs like Kanini Kega, Hassan Omar, Fatma Gedi, as well as Jeremiah Kioni. So they're just talking of that the Iyala Parliament, or the East Africa Parliament, is a dumping ground for MPs or for leaders that were not able to get seats in the general election. It's a story on page 5, and you can definitely just read for yourself right there. On the 6th page, heads to roll at KPA as Ruto plans major port changes. It's a story on page 6 and page 7. They're talking of a fresh storm at IEBC as divisions deepen. So you can get those stories that I've mentioned, among others. That is on the Standard newspaper as well as the Daily Nation. And that's all we had for you as far as the newspaper updates or the newspaper review is concerned. So that's all we had for you as far as the newspaper review is concerned. After this particular break, we'll just be looking at the news updates, just informing you and also giving you an opportunity to get to listen. That is to what leaders are or to what leaders are actually saying as far as GMO is concerned. We have a bite from the Azimio la Umoja leader, that is Raila Odinga. We also have a story on the World Cup. So do not go too far. We'll be coming back in a bit after this break.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. PCEA Githunguri Presbytery invites you for the 2022 Rites of Passage sessions starting from the 5th to 16th of December at Githiga Children's Center. Charges for boys are 8,300 Kenya shillings for the sessions. An alternative Rites of Passage for girls will start from 12th to 16th December. The charges are 5,300 Kenya shillings. Some of the topics to be covered will be Bible study and Christian growth, communication and relationships, manhood, womanhood and adulthood, self-awareness and peer influence, adolescence and sexuality, drugs and substance abuse, among other impactful topics. Registration is ongoing at all PCEA parishes within Githunguri and at the Githunguri Presbytery office. For more information, get in touch with Githunguri Presbytery office through their number 0721 844 064 0721 844 064. You can also get in touch with Reverend Samuel Gakuya, Mr. George Kagodho, and Reverend Lydia Kahiga.
We care for the environment. It's God-given, we are stewards. And since there have been talk about planting trees, we said as a church we want to partner with those who know trees better. We want to be part of that success. We want to be part of that story. Therefore, we want to urge you and charge you that since the rains have started coming, if you have space, get a few seedlings, plant a few trees. It will make a difference in the
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying tuned. That is to Kirk in the Morning Show. Remember, we are also coming to you live. That is on Facebook as well as YouTube at Kirk TV Kenya. On Twitter is Kirk TV _Kenya, as well as Ida _Munzati. You can also make this session interactive by sending in an SMS via our SMS number. That is 0111 220044. Now to the news updates. President William Ruto has called upon members of the clergy to pray that Kenya raises its revenue collection and offsets its debt burden. Speaking at the church evangelistic ministry, that is our FEM, in Karen on Sunday, President Ruto underscored that the current revenue collection contribution is low amounts to the nation's GDP and needs to be escalated. The head of state noted that the nation collections is at collects a total of 2.1 trillion from revenue collections against his target of 4 trillion.
In the last election, 3 fundamental things happened. In that election, God came through for our nation. We've always had challenges with ethnicity, but in the last election, the people of Kenya stood firm, and we voted an election that ended ethnicity in our politics and in the Republic of Kenya. In the last election, number 2, we voted. And let me say this, the last election was as close as the one in 2007, 2008. But there was a whole world of a difference. In the last election, God gave us the grace, and now we have set a new standard as the people of Kenya that we can vote peacefully.
Now, elsewhere, Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga has accused President William Ruto of betraying Kenyans after authorizing the importation of genetically modified organisms, that is, GMOs, into Kenya. In a communique issued on Sunday, Raila claimed that the decision was made without much deliberation with the various parties and public participation. The opposition leader further accused President Ruto of being a puppet, working for the foreign nations, and giving the nod for the importation of GMO-infused foods will have severe implications to the nation's agriculture.
Also fertilizers are trying to find new markets and are the ones which are actually pushing this year. And they are actually approached people in the government. I don't want to be specific, but I know that people have been approached and they have made commitments without consulting anybody in the country. So they are trying basically to streamline this issue in the country for their own maybe individual benefits. And therefore they are not doing this in the interest of the people of Kenya. You know that as we talk now, there are sufficient stocks of maize in the country. And farmers even right now are ready are harvesting. And as you see, there's fear in the Rift Valley, which is our great basket, that the farmers and maize are going to lose the market.
Now, in a report released on Sunday, the National Transport Safety Authority, that is NTSA, painted a rather bleak picture of the situation on Kenyan roads in comparison to the 3,947 fatalities that occurred last year. 4,103 people have died in road accidents nationwide as of November of this year. According to the authorities' preliminary statistics, Aden Ado, South Nyanza's regional manager for NTSA, said the death toll figures are alarming and that everyone in Kenya should take action to stop more traffic accidents by obeying the rules of the road during a candle lighting ceremony at Kisi's Daraja Moja Bridge. Now, elsewhere, fireworks light up the night sky in Doha as the World Cup opener ends on Sunday. As night fell, fireworks fizzled and cracked over the waterfront in Doha to welcome the legions of fans to the country and celebrate the day before and after the opening of the FIFA World Cup. The fireworks show, complete with illuminating drones, dazzled the crowds gathered along the waterfront. The barrage of fireworks boomed before disappearing into the sky over Doha's glittering skyscrapers. Now you are up to date. We'll still be following up on those events, especially on the GMO agenda that is being discussed among many Kenyans as well as amongst all stakeholders, that is in the agriculture as well as the economy sector. So we'll just be following up and updating you, that is during our Adhuhuri bulletin as well as the Machweo, that is at the evening Kirk TV bulletin. So stay tuned to Kirk TV for more on matters to do with that news. But that is it from us. We'll still be taking another very short break. When we come back, we will be looking at improving the mental health of the elderly. We have that is Dr. Eunice Menja in studio, and she'll just be updating us or just informing us on the different ways to improve the mental health of the elderly in the society.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. PCEA Githunguri Presbytery invites you for the 2022 Rites of Passage sessions starting from the 5th to 16th of December at Githiga Children's Center. Charges for boys are 8,300 Kenya shillings for the sessions. An alternative Rites of Passage for girls will start from 12th to 16th December. The charges are 5,300 Kenya shillings. Some of the topics to be covered will be Bible study and Christian growth, communication and relationships, manhood, womanhood and adulthood, self-awareness and peer influence, adolescence and sexuality, drugs and substance abuse, among other impactful topics. Registration is ongoing at all PCEA parishes within Githunguri and at the Githunguri Presbytery office. For more information, get in touch with Githunguri Presbytery office through their number 0721 844 064, 0721 844 064. You can also get in touch with Reverend Samuel Gakuya, Mr. George Kagodho, and Reverend Lydia Kahiga.
We care for the environment. It's God-given, we are stewards. And since there have been talk about planting trees, we said as a church we want to partner with those who know trees better. We want to be part of that success. We want to be part of that story. Therefore, we want to urge you and charge you that since the rains have started coming, if you have space, get a few seedlings, plant a few trees. It will make a difference in the future. Praise be to God. If you have some space somewhere, please, as our forefathers and our foremothers used to tell us, that we should not partake the rains on our heads. That's what they used to say. I didn't really understand what they meant, that when the rains come down, we shouldn't just partake them on our heads. Because when you walk in the rains come down on you. But you shouldn't just partake them on your head. You should do something, planting and cultivating and things like that, because it adds to the good and the beauty of our environment. We know that with good vegetation, with good environmental stewardship, we are doing good to ourselves and to our future.
PCEA Enomatesiani Booth Boys High School is an ideal school for boys located in a quiet and serene environment, ideal for learning in Matasia, Kajiado County. The school works towards producing qualified students who become competent professionals in the society.
We offer a wide variety of subjects in our school. Our school is well equipped. We have a state-of-the-art library, a spacious boarding section, a modern kitchen, also Olympic-sized swimming pool where our students go and have their swimming lessons.
The school focuses its effort not only in classroom learning, but we also provide learners with equal opportunities, that is to hone their abilities and talents. We have games like football, chess, volleyball, among others. The climate here is also favorable for all students.
PCEA and Omatasiani Booth Boys High School is open for January 2023 intake in junior secondary forms 1, 2 and 3.
Our school is founded on Christian value. We appeal for you to register our school next year, which we are offering our junior secondary school, and we know we'll be able to mentor your boys through our Christian setup.
We are going to mold our boys in Christian values, and we are committed to do so at this time when the boy child must be taken care of.
For more information, get in touch via 0796 560000, 0796 560000. Email us pcea@gmail.com.
The great people on earth today are the people who pray. Not those who talk about prayer or those who explain about prayer, but those who take time and pray.
God answers prayers. Why? Because He hears. His ear is not deaf, so He hears our prayers.
Men and women who go before God, we should be men and women of godly standards. Sure. So we abide.
Yeah.
So that we keep tapping from the source.
But as we pray, it is important to tell God that your will be done in this prayer that I'm praying, or about this prayer item that I'm praying about. Not as I will, yes, this is my will, but let your will be done.
In these changing times and seasons of uncertainty, who do you look up to?
God keeps His part. Calm rain, calm sunshine. God is still committed.
From one generation to another, and it's not like shifting shadows that He will change, but
Join Reverend Elizabeth Kimani and Henry Kyra every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. live on Kirk TV for Call Unto Me.
2021, He's still the same God and He has not changed.
Christmas already here at Kirk TV, the season of cheer and goodies. Are you a school, college, or university? Do you have upcoming events like graduation and intakes? Kirk TV offers you a special end year, New Year advert bonanza with up to 50% off our advertising rates till January 2023. Talk to us for your live graduation broadcasts and New Year intakes advertisements. Imagine paying half the price to reach customers countrywide. Usiwachwe nyuma hii krisi. Call our sales team now on 0738 278 506 or 0739 971 607, or send us an email bnkogie@kirktv.org or munyoroku@kirktv.org for more information. Hurry and book now. Pamoja tuvuke mwaka. It's the Kirk TV End Year New Year Advert Bonanza. It's Christmas already here at Kirk TV, the season of cheer and goodies. Are you a church organization and would like to air your end of year and New Year services? Are you thinking of reaching a wider audience and showcasing your Christmas cantatas and concerts? Have you thought about showcasing your Sunday school services to the entire country? Then, Kirk TV is offering you the End Year Advert Bonanza. We will cover and broadcast all the above events at up to 50% off our normal rates starting this October till January 2023. Usiwachwe nyuma hii krisi. Call ourselves
Well, welcome back. We are still in the Kirk in the Morning show, and as I promised, we are definitely going to look at improving or just ways to improve the mental health of the elderly. But before us looking at just how to improve the mental health of the elderly, we'll just get to learn, that is from the expert in the house, we'll get to learn of what are some of the mental health issues in the elderly before we look at the solutions bit of it. And the expert, that is Dr. Eunice Menja, who is a psychologist. Daktari, karibu sana. And feel free to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, okay. My names are Dr. Eunice Wamuyo Menja. I actually fellowship at Presbyterian Church. So I am here to speak about mental health that are impacting our older age population. You know, we talk about some of the major issues like Alzheimer's, dementia. We talk about things like bipolar, insomnia, and other major depressive disorders that impact at the elderly, and also PTSD, which is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I hope I am not showing some of the symptoms for some of those diseases, but we have a lot of stresses that are going on, especially our environment. You know, the rains just started raining, and I know that a lot of people have been feeling the impact of COVID, and that's really what has impacted the population, the entire population in Kenya in terms of mental health. Yes.
And now for all those that you've mentioned, of PTSD, insomnia, among others, for the patients that come to your clinic, what are some of the major, among those that you've mentioned, which is the major one that many patients come to you with?
Especially for the older people, depression is really high on a lot of older people. We do have alcoholism. Actually, addiction is also major in older adults, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is the case. And also now the Alzheimer's disease that is scaring everybody in the world. I was looking at the WHO numbers, and they were not looking good. As I told you that I have lived in the US and worked in the US, that's why I actually got my master's degree in human development and family science, and also my therapy training and all that. We have about 5 million older adults that have Alzheimer's disease. It's mainly known as dementia or dementia, but we know that dementia is really the umbrella of all those cognitive disorders. And it is affecting a lot of older people, and as people grow older, as populations grow older, like in the US, because we have more older people than young people, that disease is getting it's getting out of hand. They are doing all the research that they can do. I also looked at the numbers in Kenya. So we are showing on the radar that we have a lot of those cases. Actually, in terms of the ranking, Kenya is number 76 in terms of the people that have many of those disorders. Yes, so it is something that needs to be talked a lot, and a lot of research done. I have seen people that have given actually their loved ones bodies after they have passed on, so that their brains can be studied, just to try and understand why this disease is progressing so fast. Yes.
All right. And for all those that you've mentioned, what are some of the signs that are now these older adults present with?
So for depression is really mainly, you know, that the mood, of course, the mood swings. It's also actually manifests itself just like bipolar. But depression is really where you have your mood very, very down most of the times, and you're feeling, you just feel like you have lost, you know, we call it apathy. You have no interest in a lot of things. You don't get appetite to do the things that you used to do. Depression also causes suicide or leads to suicide most of the times. And as we know that actually when we look at the numbers of suicide cases, especially in adults, we see older men succeeding in committing suicide. Women not so much because they tend to talk a lot. But so depression is cannot be ignored. But sometimes when people are older, it's very hard to diagnose depression because there are so many other things that cause them to lose interest in a lot of things. There are many reasons why they want to stay in bed, they want to stay in the house, they want to withdraw from from social events. But we assume it's because of their old age, they're not interested in those events. But most of the times it's depression. So we see a lot of depression cases, and of course now the cognitive disorders, which is one of them, is dementia. People forgetting a lot, and the forgetfulness is where it's actually life-threatening, because somebody forgets to turn off the car, somebody forgets to turn off the gas in the house, the food is burning and they have lost memory that they were cooking and things like that. So it becomes life-threatening, and it has to be addressed in terms of helping that patient to where the progression of the disease is not so fast, and also providing other interventions that can help them cope with that condition. Yes.
Okay. And earlier on you mentioned of alcohol as a major, I don't know whether to say a trigger or a contributor, and you also mentioned that you'll be now delving into it further. That is just alcohol and the older age. Because when we are talking of older age, probably we are looking at 50 and above.
We are looking at 50. Well, the older age in terms of lifespan and the way the stages of lifespan have been divided, it's actually 65 years and older. But we are seeing that we call it it's actually I want to say mild dementia that appears even before you are 50, or actually when you are 50 and above. So you can start seeing those symptoms of dementia when you are younger than 65, even though 65 is the age of, when you say that people are older. Yes.
Okay. Now, how does alcohol come in?
So the alcohol comes in as, sometimes it comes as a comorbid, which we usually say it's somebody has already had alcoholism before, or maybe they were taking a lot of alcohol, but now the intake is more because they're trying to deal with some of these depressive issues. For example, when somebody is left alone in the home because maybe they have withdrawn from their family members, or because they have so many symptoms that the family members are actually avoiding them. So one of the things that dementia does is that it actually affects somebody's personality. So in terms of, I talked about even apathy is one of them, but also things like the temperament. The temperament can also be very, very bad, that nobody wants to associate with them. So if you leave an older person who has access to alcohol, they are most likely going to spend most of the times drinking, and so actually it progresses to where it's an addiction, and they have to get help to get out of there. So other people just use alcohol because they want to deal with the issues that, the mental issues that have been disturbing them, maybe the loss of a loved one. And we see that, people that have actually been living with a spouse before, and the spouse tends to, maybe happens and they die and they are left alone. So they have a lot of idleness and loneliness, and so they are trying to mask that pain, but now it leads to alcoholism because no one is checking on them. Yes.
All right. And now on issues to do with, let me talk over the lifestyle diseases. Things like diabetes, hypertension, arthritis that tend to probably, or the older people tend to get them as they get old. How do these particular lifestyle conditions now contribute to the mental health problems in the elderly?
So there is no way really to separate mental health and physical health or medical issues. And that's something that we really want to create awareness for the people that are in psychology. We have to really remind people that most of the people that have mental issues and they have another physical condition, it's one of the other trying to fight the other. Like you're trying to cope with this, you have lost, like we usually have clients that we have to take through the process of grief. and it's not because that someone died, it's because it's a part of their body part has been removed. For example, the diabetes the diabetes clients or patients that have been amputated, that is a loss, and we have to deal with that grief. So you will find that most of those people have other issues like high blood pressure. They have diseases like even diabetes, and you talked about arthritis and all those things. So because their health is deteriorating so fast and they have to be on this medication, some of the medication actually could cause depression. So you find that their mental health is not where it's supposed to be because of these other conditions. So when you grow older, your body parts are very fragile, so you can fall very easily. So sometimes you find that an older person who has issues of mobility and imbalance, they tend to fall a lot, which might also lead to brain trauma because of the falling. So when somebody finds themselves in bed and they're incapable of doing everything else, and we tend to see them because of the dementia, they get very angry a lot of times. So that impacts their mental health. So when you're taking care of a patient, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a counselor, you have to actually look at how both of them are impacting each other. So we do know that having some of those diseases actually are risk factors. If you have had high blood pressure, if you're dealing with cardiovascular diseases, if you are dealing with diabetes, if you're dealing with these other major, we usually call them the old age diseases, but they can also contribute to the progression of dementia. So we did say that losing memory is part of growing old, because remember, when you're growing old, you're probably not using your brain as you are using it when you are younger. So what happens is that some of those nerves that were supposed to be reproducing are not reproducing. So your brain is getting smaller, but you get to lose your memory. So losing memory is part of growing old, but the progression and how fast it progresses, because it's really a neurological disorder that happens for you to develop dementia. That is where now the problem comes. And so we have to try and advocate for this older population or the older people to actually take care of their health. For example, the lifestyle, as you said. How do we enable this person who is old and probably immobile to continue being active to where that they are slowing the progression of this disease, because it will progress as soon as you become completely immobile. Also the diet that the older people are eating, because nobody is there to check whether you're eating a balanced diet, and most of the times you want to eat things that are fast. You can easily acquire them, but you have to go to an extra mile of making sure that an older person who has all these other conditions is eating actually healthier than they were even eating before they got these diseases. Yes.
Okay, so it's just a matter of checking up on them.
Yes.
And I like it that you've now brought it away from the psychologist or away from the doctor, now to the caregivers of these older people. You've just talked of memory loss on issues to do with insomnia. How do I now separate how do I separate now the mental issue and now the problem that comes with old age? Because you're talking of a loss of memory is part of getting old, and I think with our older parents, when they tend to forget something, in most cases we'll just laugh off it, we'll just find it funny, and that's it. How do we now start getting and now just taking these issues to be important and not necessarily laughing them off?
I think, I don't know how many times all of us forget, because we all forget. I mean, I don't know how many times I lose my car keys, and I'm not that old. I'm not saying that I am young, but I am not that old. So there's something that we call the mild cognitive impairment that almost everybody has. Even little children have that. So it's really mild that, you tend to forget sometimes. I remember when I was younger, I always used to laugh at my mother because she would lose a knife, but it is in her hands. So that is really part of us, the way the brain is wired, and sometimes it could be the cause could be stress. Maybe you have encountered some type of stress, some traumatic event that has happened. So I don't think there's any room for anybody to laugh at anybody because of memory loss, because right now it's like laughing. If you're laughing at older people because of losing their memory, it's almost like laughing at somebody who has cancer, because now we know that dementia is a disease. And I wish that anybody, just like cancer, knew how to cure it. There's really no cure for dementia. What there is those we have preventive measures that we're talking about. If you find yourself with even that mild, we call it MCI. So if I use the word MCI, mild cognitive impairment. So if you find yourself tending to forget, there are some things that you can be trained by even your therapist or even somebody to just be doing, so that you continue to exercise your memory, so that you can slow that quick deterioration of your cognition. Because when it actually hits, it's like I want to say, let me give an example of when somebody has a cold symptoms. You tend to sneeze, and then you tend to maybe not really cough, but you are sneezing. You don't have a fever. So it is just like, it's the same way. When you have MCI, it's like when you are sneezing because you're about to get a cold. When you have MCI, you're sneezing because you're about to get dementia. If you can have the preventive measures and know how to prevent it, you can really delay the development of that cold, as in dementia, to where that even when you are older, you don't feel as much impact. But the problem is that when people tend to forget, they think, oh, I'm just forgetting because, I got a child. And mostly that happens when people are breastfeeding. It's something to do with, just those hormones that are being produced in your milk, and, you just gave birth to another child. So that impacts the brain and how the brain is processing information. But now when you get to a certain age and you realize, man, I think I will be forgetting when I get older. You have to improve your lifestyle. If you are one of those people that are driven to work every day, there are times that you have to take a matatu so that you can walk longer. There are times that you have to maybe enroll in clubs like, golf course and go play golf, because one of the things that has actually been proved to be working for dementia patients is really exercise. So I don't know whether the last time we met that I talked about, I don't like using a lot of technical terms because I want everybody to understand what you're talking about. There is a certain part of the brain that is called the teramore that actually is known to shorten when you exercise more. So let's say, for example, for the people that run, when an MRI is done, that part of the brain is actually shorter. It's like a string. It's like, like a thread, or maybe we actually say spaghetti kind of thread. So that gets to shorten as you get more active, more physically active. It is very, very short for people that run marathon, people that exercise a lot, especially those intensive exercises. But the connection between that part of the brain, that teramore, and the memory is that it actually improves your memory when it is shorter. Does that make sense?
It does.
So the more you run, you have a sharper memory. The more you run, the more you exercise, the more you go to the gym and doing those intensive exercises. The problem is that older people cannot do those very vigorous exercises. So we have to to improvise other ways of making that part of the brain exercise. And so we're going to talk about that maybe in the next part of this interview, how to do that intervention. And that's why you bring in the caregiver, you bring in the family members, so that you can actually work as a team for your loved one. It's sad to see people that were very, very active, even in church, that they have, that disease hits, and it really hits fast, because you're talking with somebody last week, a very good conversation. Next week you meet them, they cannot, they're not even coherent on what they're talking about, because it's progressing fast. So we need to actually slow that speed, because we don't have a cure yet. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for that. You've explained it so well, and as you put it, you don't like using those big medical terms,
Yeah.
and definitely it's much
Yes.
understandable
Yes.
to our audience as well. So we will be taking a very short break. When we come back, as Daktari puts it, we'll just be looking at some of the interventions or some of the ways or things to do. As you can see right here on the table, we have some equipment that will definitely be using just to help you as a caregiver, help you as an older adult in terms of improving your mental health. So we take a very short break. Don't go too far, because we'll now be looking at solutions.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. PCEA Githunguri Presbytery invites you for the 2022 Rites of Passage sessions starting from the 5th to 16th of December at Githiga Children's Center. Charges for boys are 8,300 Kenya shillings for the sessions. An alternative rites of passage for girls will start from 12th to 16th December. The charges are 5,300 Kenya shillings. Some of the topics to be covered will be Bible study and Christian growth, communication and relationships, manhood, womanhood and adulthood, self-awareness and peer influence, adolescence and sexuality, drugs and substance abuse, among other impactful topics. Registration is ongoing at all PCEA parishes within Githunguri and at the Githunguri Presbytery office. For more information, get in touch with Githunguri Presbytery office through their number 0721 844 064, 0721 844 064. You can also get in touch with Reverend Samuel Gakuya, Mr. George Kagodho, and Reverend Lydia Kahiga.
We care for the environment. It's God-given. We are stewards. And since there have been talk about planting trees, we said as a church we want to partner with those who know trees better. We want to be part of that success. We want to be part of that story. Therefore, we want to urge you and charge you that since the rains have started coming, if you have space, get a few seedlings, plant a few trees. It will make a difference in the future. Praise be to God. If you have some space somewhere, please, as our forefathers and our foremothers used to tell us, that we should not partake the rains on our heads. That's what they used to say. I didn't really understand what they meant, that when the rains come down, we shouldn't just partake them on our heads. Because when you walk in the rains come down on you. But you shouldn't just partake them on your head. You should do something, planting and cultivating and things like that, because it adds to the good and the beauty of our environment. We know that with good vegetation, with good environmental stewardship, we are doing good to ourselves and to our future.
PCEA Enomatesiani Booth Boys High School is an ideal school for boys located in a quiet and serene environment, ideal for learning in Matasia, Kajiado County. The school works towards producing qualified students who become competent professionals in the society.
We offer a wide variety of subjects in our school. Our school is well equipped. We have a state-of-the-art library, a spacious boarding section, a modern kitchen, also Olympic-sized swimming pool where our students go and have their swimming lessons.
The school focuses its effort not only in classroom learning, but we also provide learners with equal opportunities, that is to hone their abilities and talents. We have games like football, chess, volleyball, among others. The climate here is also favorable for all students.
PCEA Enomatesiani Booth Boys High School is open for January 2023 intake in junior secondary forms 1, 2 and 3.
Our school is founded on Christian value. We appeal for you to register our school next year, which we are offering our junior secondary school, and we know we'll be able to mentor your boys through our Christian setup.
We are going to put our boys in Christian values, and we are committed to do so at this time when the boy child must be taken care of.
For more information, get in touch via 0796 560000, 0796 560000. Email us pcea@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Kirk in the Morning. I'm still with Dr. Eunice Menja from Ponca Mental Health Clinic, and she's just sharing with us of ways to improve the mental health of older adults, or improving mental health of the elderly people. So we've just looked at some of the examples, probably a daktari for someone that is joining us or someone that is just tuning in.
Yes.
Just a summary of what we've discussed in the first part of the interview.
Yes, so we talked about some of the common mental health issues for the older adults, and we talked about things like bipolar, we talked about depression, we talked about insomnia, which is really lack of sleep which is common for a lot of older people, and that's something that can also be improved through intervention. And we also talked about actually suicide it tends to be very high for older men, and also dementia, which is the umbrella of all the cognitive disorders, including Alzheimer's, which Alzheimer's is very, very common. So we did talk about those things and how they actually relate to the medical and physical issues that older adults usually tend to have. And we also talked about, we actually mentioned that when older people, their bones are very fragile, and so most of the times it's like they're breaking a bone. I don't know how many times I hear that somebody saying my grandfather fell and broke their hip, and now they are going through surgery. And all that actually now leads to your grandparent being bedridden for a long time, and that can also progress to depression. Yes.
All right. So that is just a summary, just in case you're tuning in. But remember, we are also coming to you live, that is on Facebook as well as YouTube. So you can always go to our social media pages just to get to understand of what exactly we've been looking at. You can also send in your question, comment, or opinion via our SMS number. That is 0111220044. And now on this particular part, we're just going to look at some of the solutions or interventions, and just looking at what is on the table is things that are very easily accessible and just something that anyone can actually afford, Dr. But before us focusing on this particular items that we have right here, we have the older people in the villages, and probably we have the percentage of them in the villages is quite high. So for someone that cannot probably afford or just get to access these particular things, and they are in the village, what are some of the activities that they can do back home?
Well, at least the good thing about the village is the village. It's that there's a lot of things to do. And most of the times you're not going. This is really a very, we don't want to call it an urban disease, but people that live in the, of course, the developed countries and in the urban cities tend to have this disease mostly because of the sedentary lifestyle that we usually lead when we are in town, always driving, always things being done for us. But people in the village, most of the times, I remember my grandmother would walk for many, many miles or kilometers without getting tired. So that we don't have a lot of worry for the older people that are in the village, but we know that they have to go to the forest sometimes to find firewood. And that's something that they have done for a very long time. As long as they continue to do some of these tasks at home, like putting the cows and the goats into the house, sometimes they have to go out there and peel potatoes, and even they are communicating with people, and most of the things that they are doing for themselves. My grandmother was about actually over 100 years, and her memory was intact. And that one I also contributed to. The people that are in the village, they are also very, very lucky, because the type of food that we are being told to avoid so that we can actually keep our cognitive ability or health longer. The things that people in the village eat, we are talking about eating a lot of greens, less fatty foods, and less sodium and less processed food. All these things are available in the village. I remember even for the younger people, especially the children, they are used to using the toys that are available. So it's not a matter of, can I afford to buy something for my grandmother to exercise with when she's losing, so that she can exercise her memory. So that's not a problem. I mean, giving her a knife that is not very sharp to peel potatoes, that really is engaging her brain. And so you don't have to worry about a lot about the people in the in the village. When it comes to the people in the town, and I told you that the lifestyle is really has a lot to do with why this dementia is really developing. Especially, I saw that Finland is the first country in terms of its ranking. You think about the lifestyle that people have in these modern cities. As I said, you have a house girl that is doing everything for somebody. You never cook. You are not used to even driving. You don't even walk. So we have worries in the cities, and those things are available in the cities. The things that we brought here, they are available in the toy shops. There are things that you don't even have to purchase. They are in your house that you can use with your patient or your client. Just the only thing that we need to do is really empower the people that are taking care of these people. I gave you an example of when a spouse, when a client loses a spouse, maybe they were the only two people in the house. They used to talk to each other. They are not talking to each other. The person that is left alone in the house is the one that is in danger. How do we bring in the family members so that they are actually sensitizing this person to remain active in terms of whether they are reading the Bible, whether they are watching TV and interacting with other people? That is what is very, very important. I wanted to show you some of the tools that we usually bring to our office. These are the tools that we have in our office, because we have people that drop off their clients, their loved one or their older parent to our office, so that we can work with them on these matters of memory. So something as simple as Play-Doh. This is Play-Doh. I don't know if you've touched it. It's very soft. It's we also have stress balls. They actually work the same way. So when you hold a stress ball and just push it like that, and that sensory part of the action is sending a message to the brain that is making those nerves that we are talking about to actually start reproducing. Also, for example, like because of the many stresses that older people have, that can also be a stress relief. Remember, we say that having a lot of stress actually is a risk factor for dementia. So we are keeping your brain active. We also have things like these ones. These ones are also therapy toys that we use even with children. Some of them have letters, so you can tell somebody to push the letter M in. You have to know that dementia actually is a very nasty disease that you forget literally everything when you have dementia. You forget your name, you forget your kids' names, you forget the letters and things like that. So just having an older person looking at those numbers because they know them, and sometimes that, just pushing it in and out, remembering what in and out looks like, it's actually making the brain active. And so those nerves that we are saying that they get to stop being reproduced when you are having dementia, they actually continue to reproduce. So we don't want a dementia patient or somebody who has those early onset dementia symptoms staying idle at any time. You want them engaged. And watching TV, I mean, I'm sorry, I talked about watching TV is really not a solution. It's really not a solution to keep your brain active. We want these people moving. We want them throwing the ball, even if it's just, with a caregiver, and, you throw the ball to them, and they will just reminding the brain that when you catch the ball and throwing it, it is very important. You are keeping that brain working even if it doesn't want to work, if that makes sense.
It does.
So there's something else that we talk about in dementia, and or not even just dementia. When people are growing older, they develop a certain condition that's called agnosia. So agnosia, what it does is that your 5 senses actually forget to do what they're supposed to forget, which is, the 5 senses, like the touch, the seeing, the hearing, the smell. So when you develop that condition as an older person, it is very, very risky, because that means that you can't smell a gas leaking in the house. That means you can't recognize somebody coming towards you. That means you cannot even know that you are holding something. So because the senses are not communicating with the brain, it's very hard for somebody even to hold a spoon onto their mouth to feed themselves. So you're seeing how this dementia is a nasty disease, because you can't feed yourself, you can't clothe yourself, you forget literally everything. So keeping that brain working even before the onset of the disease is very, very important. Have people even in like, for example, people that work with older adults, especially. I haven't visited any elderly home here in Kenya, unfortunately, but maybe I have. These are some of the things that we allow the older people to do. These are things that they probably never did because they had a housemaid or a nanny at home that was doing all these things. But just allowing them to do them themselves, like, just tell somebody, give them this. This is called a hanger. Give them a piece of cloth and tell them, hey, can you do it for me? And sometimes they're not hearing what you're saying. So you really have to demonstrate doing it. And you don't do it for themselves. You let them do it. Folding a piece of cloth and, washing a cup and things like that. Because what this, all these diseases do, the cognitive disorders do to older people, they will even forget where they're supposed to go to the bathroom. So you find that they're looking for a bathroom in the wrong place, or they're going to put things that are not supposed to be in the refrigerator. But having them exercise, you can have a to-do list with your loved one, whether it is your parent, whether it's with your grandparent. Like, have a schedule, just like you have a schedule in a school or at workplace. You have a schedule for your grandmother. When they wake up, you don't clean their face because they don't know how to clean it. You actually help them, lead them into doing those activities. So by the end of the day, they might not be able to achieve 100% of independence, but they have at least a little bit of independence. Because another thing that really makes older people very angry and actually regret, and they're in desperation is because of losing their total independence.
Yeah.
That's something that really hurts people. That's something that is going to make even those clients commit suicide because they don't see the reason why they're even existing. They see themselves as a burden. But when you engage them in doing these activities, they feel like they are contributing. Remember, at the age of 65, unfortunately, in our country, we don't have use for older people. I want to say use because that's the time we want everybody to retire at 65, but we don't realize how much damage it does to them. So it is a place where even in psychology or human development, we know that it's a stage of despair. There are countries where these people are accommodated in other places where they can work, but in Kenya, because of unemployment, we don't have jobs for them. Even elders in church, they are retiring, so they don't feel like they can contribute to anything. Their children have moved on, so these people are feeling helpless in the home, and what that does is that it causes more depression, and so the diseases progress, and they actually feel like they don't belong here, and they give up very easily. So they have a small illness, and they go to the hospital. They don't have the will to fight because they feel like they are a burden. Even young people, when they have cancer, they start telling people, please let me go. I feel like I'm a burden. Can you imagine an older person that has lost almost every ability, and they are feeling that they have to depend on someone? They are going to give up very, very easily. So that's why it's very important to engage with them. I think you can see things like pegs. You can use pegs in many, many ways, even in the house or even outside the house. They can get pieces of papers where you can have them have, like, even on this hanger, just putting those pegs on here and telling the older person to take them out and count them. Actually, it helps. If it's your shosho, you are calling her shosho or guka shosho, put three pegs on the hanger, and they are going to do that. The brain is being forced to remember what number 3 was, and so it is being kept active. Things like chairs, you have even other toys like these blocks that we also use. We use this for therapy, even for younger people, but you also have to remember that a younger person is actually, they almost have the same mental capacity with an older person, that person that is losing their memory. So, building blocks with them, Guka, let's build a tower. And that excites them because another thing, as much as they are losing their physical or their mental ability to remember the content, what excites them is what they remember. So, for example, if you take your grandmother to a wedding and they look at the beauty of the bridegroom and people dancing, and then you go home after maybe that day, if they are forgetting a lot, they might forget everything else. They might forget how many people they were there. They might forget the person who preached, but they remember the bride who fell on the ground, and because Guka laughed, because that emotional connection with memory is very, very important. And that's why the other time you met, I told you that the hippocampus of the brain is the part where we are losing the size of that, brain, because that's where the nerves are being developed. The amygdala is the one that is connected to our emotions. So anything that is emotional that you can actually bring to these people, and that's why I love the people that go to visit their grandparents. They go to visit their older people and entertain them and things like that. That is very, very important for their brain health. So I have to say that I wish my grandmother was here to watch me do this, because she would be very proud of me. But I know that I want to take care of people like my grandmother. I don't want them to lose their self-identity because they have lost their memory. Let's talk a little bit about food.
But just before we go to food, if the viewers can actually see, and if you're following, most of the items that we are having here are actually items that kids actually used to play. So how about, I don't know whether this can be a solution, when, especially during the Christmas holidays, these particular holidays, how about if probably this particular older person, this shosho, wuka, and just the older person, how about we as a society or parents now, when we take these grandchildren to see their grandparents, they take the toys so that the grandparent is also just playing with the grandchild as well.
Yes, because the therapy part of the toys are very therapeutic, not just for brain, for making your brains or your memory stronger. They're very also they're also very important because they are the sensory. That's a sensory part of the senses. We talk about the brain connecting with the senses, but we also talk about, even when it comes to dealing with trauma, any brain that has encountered trauma, it needs to be connected to something that your hands are doing. Yes, we talk about things like heavy weighted blankets, we talk about medicine, but anything that your hands are doing, even children that have autism, even children that have hyperactivity and things like that, they actually tend to be engaged with what they are doing with their hands, not what you're telling them, not what you are giving them to eat or drink. It is what they are doing with what they are engaging their hands to do. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it is part of therapy for trauma, it's part of therapy for the brain to actually get energized. Yes.
And now we have two more that we haven't.
Yes, this one is the simplest. This is the simplest. Unfortunately, when you lose your memory, because you lose your memory to do everything, you don't remember how to do the lead anti-clockwise or anti-clockwise or clockwise. This is also a very, very simple a very simple exercise that you can do with your loved one. Tell Shosho to open a bottle that has milk, let's go cook, but you give it to them to where it is safe for them to actually hold it and open. Just giving them very simple tasks, as Shosho, open the cocoa container, open the Royco container. When you are cooking, even if she's sitting down, that really is engaging them, and they know that they are, it's very, I don't know if there's anything as fulfilling as having that person being part of the cooking, being part of whatever is happening. Even if you are peeling peas and she just gets to peel too, that is an achievement for somebody like that who is going through that. The other day I went to visit a friend of ours that actually has dementia, and I know it is in the early stages, but it was very unfortunate that these people, because they literally forget everything, they will open the milk, they'll forget to close it, they'll put it in the wrong place, probably supposed to go in the fridge, and she was not remembering even to come back to their food when they were eating. So they'll be eating and they forget that they are eating, and that's why we have a lot of older people lose their weight, because especially when they have the cognitive disorders, they forget that they are eating, they forget they're supposed to eat, they forget what time they're supposed to eat. If you leave those people for themselves, to survive alone with that, in that condition, you are going to find somebody who is dead because of hunger, because they don't know that they're supposed to eat, and the brain doesn't communicate with the stomach that I'm hungry and it's time to look for food. Yes.
Okay. The handbag now?
Yeah, the handbag. I know a lot of women like handbag. Just opening and closing the zip, for especially even a lady that maybe used to love purses. And you also have to look at some of the things that the older people liked. If it's a grandfather that used to like to polish shoes or liked polished shoes, I'm sure they will appreciate a brush and some pair of shoes that they can, that they can actually polish with your guidance and your help, and that keeps their brain working. I mean, bring this kind of a purse to your shosho or your mother who is older, or somebody who is actually suffering from dementia, and tell them to pack all some of these toys and see as how many can fit in there. And just them remembering to open and close, it's an achievement for them, because these people forget what they ate 2 hours ago. So that is anything that you can do. Is also this, as you can see, this purse has a lot of functions. You can actually tighten, you can make this smaller or larger. this is all brain work.
So it's
Yes.
it's just a matter of
Yes.
keeping
Yeah.
their brain active, their
Active.
hands, and just everything.
Yeah, with
So
things
it's
that
just
are
activities.
Yes, with those daily activities. I'm talking about the daily activities, the
Yeah.
things that they used to do. Yes,
All
things
right.
like combing their hair. Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Even buttoning. Yeah?
Even buttoning, yeah, it's a lot of, there's a lot of exercise in buttoning, and especially tying shoes as well. Yeah, something like tying shoes, bring some little shoes that they can tie, even allow them to tie their grandchildren's shoes and
Yeah.
things like that. That is an achievement.
Wow, that is very
Yes.
helpful. And dear viewers, you can
Yeah.
see it's actually things that you can just do at home, yeah, with your grandparent, and just involving everyone, including the grandchildren and even the caregivers that are taking care of them. As you put it, it's actually a matter of making them aware that they should not make these older people just sit and everything to be done to them.
Everything to be done for them. One of the other things I probably have told you that we work with the caregivers, because a lot of people, some of us are very busy and we don't have time to take care of our parents. So we find maybe a house help that has no idea what grandmother is going through, doesn't understand why grandmother cannot remember that they ate or they didn't eat. And so it becomes a very huge conflict that people will start fighting in the house. They can even kill each other because grandmother kept 500 shillings under her pillow and she thinks that the caregiver or the housemaid took it. So we have a lot of paranoia, so they are always worried that somebody is going to do something that is negative, but it is not because that person is capable of doing that, but it's because they forget a lot. So because of their temperament, they get very angry, so they fight a lot with their caregivers. So you need somebody who is really trained to understand what this disease is doing to their brain, and so that they can be very, very understanding and very patient. You have to be patient with such a person. Any person that is aged, you need to be patient with them. When they have dementia, you need to be over 100 times patient, because the way they process information is not the same way they would process with somebody who doesn't have a disease. So like, for example, just picking a spoon from the plate, it can take them 2 whole minutes. You know, considering somebody who has dementia and their brain is not working the way it is supposed to be. So this person needs somebody who is 100% willing to be patient with them. How they process the information, how long they take to communicate. Like they might take 5 minutes to communicate what they want. But you have to be patient again. So they need extra training. They need to be skilled so that you don't find that your grandmother has been beaten up. That's why, because of that frustration of a caregiver, you are being accused, you are stealing, you are being blamed, you are not feeding your grandmother. She's probably throwing all the food to the dogs because she doesn't know what she's doing. And then you are being blamed by her that you're not feeding her. The family members are blaming you that you are eating the food. You might find that your loved one is being hurt because she wants to revenge of all the things that you are actually saying against her. So you have to make sure that everybody, the whole entire family, understand what this disease does and how it should be managed, and some of the things that are going to come up, especially during caregiving.
And now talking of conflict, there might actually be conflict between probably the caregiver and this particular older person, but conflict between, I'm just trying to imagine that these are couple, both of them are old. So there could actually be conflict between the 2 older people.
There's a lot of conflict, and that's why you find, people fight, and sometimes they even kind of separate, and one person hurts the other. It is because of that type of conflict, because one spouse is not understanding why you're forgetting to even brush your teeth, why you're forgetting to do this and this and this. You know, you think that somebody is being ignorant or somebody is not communicating, but it's really because of the disease. So even that's where the whole family dynamics come from, because it's a system. You have to work with the whole system. If you're a good therapist or a good doctor, you don't treat one person, you take care of the whole entire family. Because the person that is actually taking care of this person can be a burden, can also can get stressed, because you're talking about taking care of this person, including their private, even things that probably they have to be taken to the bathroom. Sometimes they have to use diapers because the whole system is not working. They have to clean them. So sometimes they have to do things that they are not used to doing. That is very, very stressful for anyone. So all of them need care. Everybody needs care. Even the caregivers will need
care as well. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now let us just look at now the nutrition bit of it, the food.
Yeah, the nutrition bit is really huge, but it's also one of the things that is being recommended for people, any person that is old. Actually, not any person, anybody, any human being needs to eat healthy. So the lifestyle is very, very important. Your health is more important for someone who has these diseases. For example, as I said, when people are older, they lose their senses. So they have lost their taste, and they have also lost their smell. So anything if you cook, it's not going to smell good because they can't smell it. Anything they taste, it doesn't have any taste. So sometimes you find that grandmother is always asking, give me more salt. Salt is not good. It's going to cause cardiovascular issues, heart diseases. It's going to increase their blood pressure. So now they have to get more medication for blood pressure. So making sure that they really understand the kind of food that they are eating, and also recognizing that they have lost some of their senses. So when they ask for salt, you would rather, actually it's recommended that you use more herbs, spices, more herbal spices instead of adding salt, because it's going to bring salt. I mean, it's going to bring some taste that is close to what they want, because of course we know that salt enhances taste. But if you use herbs, and it's going to probably make the grandmother eat. And sometimes it's because they can't taste, they want to add more sugar in the tea. Then if they have diabetes, then it's going to be a problem because they don't remember to take their medication. So instead of that medication, you can probably supplement with things like fruits, if they are lacking vitamin C. Also, food supplements are very, very important, and I know we have a lot of them maybe in the chemist and things like that. But having that grandmother snack once in a while, because they will not be able to sit down and eat a whole meal. It is very tiring for them. Eating food is actually requires your brain, and so that they get tired after doing a very, very small thing. Just chewing is very tiring for them. Swallowing is very, very tiring for them. Actually, when dementia progresses, they can't swallow anything, because it affects the whole entire, neuro system. So what you do is that you make sure that they snack once in a while. I said avoid a lot of salt, avoid a lot of sugar, provide other things that actually supplement for sugar. So you give them fruits instead of putting sugar in the tea. Give them, ripe bananas. Those natural sugars are good. We know that omega-3, foods, especially the fish, because it works on the brain. That's why we know that people from Kisumu are very smart. So we need to have food that has omega-3. We provide things like nuts and almonds and things like that, and a lot of beans. Also avoid a lot of fatty meat, and especially because of also cholesterol. So that's gonna affect their heart. And we say that having heart diseases and all those diabetes are a risk factor for dementia. So we wanna avoid anything that is really, really fatty. So cook lean food. I keep going back to my grandmother. I don't remember ever seeing a container of oil in my grandmother's house. Sometimes she would just cook beans and mash them with potatoes and some herbs, and she would not even put salt. So let's go back to that older eating. I mean, those old age eating, the authentic food, the sweet potatoes, the arrowroot, and the yams and things like that. Those are the foods that actually have been found to be very good for reducing the speed of progression of these diseases that actually affects the brain. Yes.
All right, great.
Yes.
I think we will end it there, unless there is any other thing that you'll want to add as far as what we were just looking at is concerned.
Okay. So I think one of the major thing that I can really say is about the older people. First of all, when they come to our office, we know that yes, dementia could be progressing. We know that they could be having all these other things. Let's take care of their insomnia. Older people, they don't get to sleep a lot. So how can we improve their sleep? how can we make sure that we give them food that actually makes them comfortable before they sleep, so that they don't stay awake for a long time. Staying awake for a long time actually increases your depression, because, you know, making sure that they're not watching video, they're not watching TV at least 1 or 2 hours before going to bed, actually that can impact their sleep habits. Things like just checking on them, making sure that they are comfortable, they are warm, their bodies are, you know, have things like blood pressure machines that you can actually check how their blood pressure is, you know, their heart rate and things like that. You know, just, you know, even their sugar levels can be monitored from home. So those are very basic things that people should advocate for having them, but most importantly, loving all those people. Let's include them in those places where they don't want. If you have a birthday for your child and that is their grandchild, please make sure that Shosho comes. Let her be happy. Just, you know, having that, seeing that cake, as I said, she's going to connect emotionally with the people that are around there. She's going to feel important. She's going to feel appreciated, rather than just keeping them at home and maybe waiting until Christmas to go see them. Again, staying in the village is the best, because, you know, all those foods that we talked about, they are available in the village. We say that let's avoid buying processed food for anyone. We know that we are in Kenya. We know that we have progressed to where now we feel like we are very modernized. But the food that we eat that has a lot of preservatives is also a problem to these diseases. Yes.
All right. And now, that being your parting shot, probably where can people find you? Where is Ponka located?
Ponka is located at Kahawa Sukari. So you can call us 0715-780-586, 0715-780-586. We deal with everything that concerns your mental health, from 0 years to all the way to death. We actually deal with a lot of all the things that are in between, because that's where we are trained. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. for that. And once again, if you're just joining us, we were looking at ways to improve mental health of the elderly. And with the help of Dr. Eunice Menja right here, she's just been able to take us through probably some of the activities that one can do. We've also looked at some of the mental health issues. She's talked over insomnia, among other mental health conditions. And we leave it at that for this particular session. We will take a very short commercial break. We will be right back in a few, just to wind up.
We welcome your feedback on our programming. For questions or comments, kindly get in touch with us via email info@kirktv.org, SMS 0111 220044, or call us on 0794 588 054. PCEA Githunguri Presbytery invites you for the 2022 Rites of Passage sessions starting from the 5th to 16th of December at Githiga Children's Center. Charges for boys are 8,300 Kenya shillings for the sessions. An alternative Rites of Passage for girls will start from 12th to 16th December. The charges are 5,300 Kenya shillings. Some of the topics to be covered will be Bible study and Christian growth, communication and relationships, manhood, womanhood and adulthood, self-awareness and peer influence, adolescence and sexuality, drugs and substance abuse, among other impactful topics. Registration is ongoing at all PCEA parishes within Githunguri and at the Githunguri Presbytery office. For more information, get in touch with Githunguri Presbytery office through their number 0721 844 064 0721 844 064. You can also get in touch with Reverend Samuel Gakuya, Mr. George Kagodho, and Reverend Lydia Kahiga.
Well, welcome back. It's still the Kirk in the morning show, and we are looking at improving the mental health of the older person. But before we wind up, Dr. Eunice Menja has something that is just some information or just message to the stakeholders as well as the government.
Yes, we have talked about the role of the medical doctors and therapists, and we've talked about the role of family members. But I really wanted to say that the government also has a huge role to play in this if we have to actually improve the mental health of our older adults. One of the things that we recommend, especially for some of us that have traveled to the outside countries, is that we really need to take care of their medical health. Maybe having a free cover for older people that cannot not afford, because all these things are related. We know that if they don't have their medical coverage, they are going to be probably stressed. They are going to have more issues with their health, and we are talking about some of these health issues being risk factors to their loss of memory and things like that. So just having that piece, actually, it is also the evidence or research shows that having some type of education when you are older, we used to have Gubaro. I don't know if you remember Gubaro, where older people used to go to school. Maybe bring some of those systems back, because that's where these activities can actually be done for those adults that have aged and they have no income, so that we can actually keep them busy. Just take care of our older people. They have a lot of wisdom to share too.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Daktari, once again. So that is it from us this particular morning. That was a conversation to do with improving the mental health of the elderly. We've just looked at a number of ways that can actually happen. It's quite simple, and as you look at the items are also quite simple. If you're not able to afford these, Daktari has also shared of ways that are probably, if your parent is in the village, she's also shared of ways to do, talk of digging, not digging an acre or quite a huge area, but just digging a small area, as well as just using things like even a bottle, as she puts it, the issue of just opening and closing the bottle in the clockwise and anti-clockwise way. So that's all we had for you as far as the Kirk in the morning is concerned this Monday. My name is Aida Muzatsi. I'm wishing you a blessed Monday, and as always, your health matters.